All right, well, welcome everybody to our Green Play to Green Pay webinar. This is a little look at our agenda. We'll start off by talking a little about what is a green job and also why is this an important initiative for the Natural Leaders Network. And then this is a really cool feature. We're just going to get to hear from a lot of Legacy Camp alumni that represent a lot of different industries, green industries, and hear a little insight into their professions, both a day in the life and what to expect, and is this profession right to you? So really a wealth of information. I'm going to show you this slide here. I want you to take a second to read about Green Play Initiative, Green Pay Initiative. So in addition to what you're reading there, just a little bit about behind the scenes. Green, and I always get this wrong, right? Green Play to Green Pay, GPGP, is an initiative that the Natural Leaders Network has been working on for a while. And since the most recent Legacy Camp, we've had a team together that's been looking at this webinar and some other projects. The reason that the Natural Leaders Network is focusing on this initiative is for a number of reasons, but there are a handful of the most important ones is we have a generation of baby boomers that are about to retire from within the green professions, the conservation industry. And it's really important, we look at the impact that they have. It's important that we have a talented pool of millennial leaders to step up and take their place. Additionally, the green job industry, green professions, currently do not represent the cultural diversity of our country. So we're looking to, with this initiative, have a more diverse core of millennial leaders in this industry to also help play a role in connecting new demographics to the outdoors. And also, green jobs just make people happy. People within green jobs are happy, and so it's something that we want to share with others. So a little bit about me as I transition into talking about our first green profession, the outdoor retail industry. So Kai Harkey Halens from Austin, Texas. I first attended a Legacy Camp in 2012 and returned in 2013 as a trainer for the Legacy Camp. My background in the green industry, I cut my teeth in the Student Conservation Association with an internship. Gosh, I guess going on 10 years ago now. I've led trips with the National Outdoor Leadership School and instruct with the Wilderness Medicine Institute, and have led some other outdoor programs. And today I work with Texas State Parks out of Austin and in our education and outreach programs. And my job and the teams that I work with are to help increase the diversity of visitation in our Texas State Parks. So I want to talk about the outdoor retail industry. So in addition to some of those jobs that I've held, I've spent four Christmas seasons in the outdoor retail industry, which is character building to suffer through all that Christmas music and crazed shoppers and everything. And we included the outdoor retail industry in these topics because it's an interesting one. It's both a career path and oftentimes a stepping stone. So the words and phrases on this screen are a handful of things that come to my mind with my experiences, and I think are true across the board in the outdoor retail industry. It's a place that for me, I did a lot of learning, both as a professional, but also just as a budding outdoor enthusiast. I met a lot of adventure buddies through my time in outdoor retail. Generally, it's a very laid-back atmosphere. It's a bunch of good people, and it's good people to work around. At the bottom left-hand corner, pro deals certainly go a long way. That is a discount that the outdoor retail vendors provide to those within the industry, and it's easy to waste a lot of your paycheck going into half-price gear, and I certainly was victim to that. So some things that you could be within this outdoor retail industry. It's vast. You can think about it as being a specialist in any one of the outdoor retail types, things like climbing or biking shop. Certainly a store manager and or a director of marketing for any of these outdoor retailers. Both of those things lead themselves to more of a career path, of course. Many outdoor retail shops employ bike techs and ski techs, both of those being very desirable skills if you're somebody that wants to just travel around for a while. Certainly a part-time cashier, an accountant, and things like an outreach or social media guru to help represent the outdoor retailers. So we say this profession is right for you if you like to talk to people and get them excited about their next trip. And that's a point that I'll emphasize for a second. You spend a lot of time, I think you can find yourself in outdoor retail being very authentic whenever you're helping somebody find the right piece of gear for them. A lot of times you spend 20 minutes talking to somebody about their next adventure and helping them understand, both inspiring them for some different trips and adventures, but also helping them create a more positive experience for themselves. I'm glad to say that a lot of outdoor retailers understand the double bottom line, and this is the concept of both making enough money to pay the bills, to pay your employees a fair wage and everything. That's the bottom line, but also the service back to your community. When you look at outdoor retailers like REI and the North Face, who have both been very big supporters of the Natural Leaders Network, other retailers like Patagonia, you can see in their behavior that they understand that it's not just about sales. They're also taking care of their environment and taking care of the community, and that's an important philosophy to take into the outdoor retail industry. It's definitely important to be okay with a changing schedule. If you're working outdoor retail, you can expect to work weekends, work nighttime during the week. Sometimes, as you approaching the Christmas season, working 40-plus hours. In January and February, the hours diminish, to maybe half time. So having that kind of flexibility is really important. This profession is right for you if you're the kind of person who wanders into a gear shop and just for the fun of it, which I find myself doing all the time. You can disregard that next bullet point. I copied this from Blair's slide and it helped to pull that one out. And lastly, it's a skill that can travel. There are outdoor gear shops all over the place. And if you get some experience in one in your hometown and you want to explore the West or the East Coast and just have some good adventures, having outdoor retail in your industry goes a long way to help you find that next job. So things that I wish I had known, I think I just underestimated how strong the community is around the outdoor retail industry. I've still got a lot of good friends that I keep up with who I met at the gear shops that I've worked at. And in a lot of the outdoor sports that I love today, I got the experience through those outdoor retail shops and the people I worked around, and made a lot of connections, made a lot of professional connections that have helped me get to where I am today. Some things to keep in mind in terms of the resources needed in learning about this profession. Keep in mind that the holiday season is the big time of year for outdoor retailers, and that season starts in September. Likely January and February are slow, so it's just not the time probably to hop into an outdoor retail career or a job experience. Don't settle on an impersonal application process. Go in, get face-to-face with the manager, because it's easy to just be a needle in the haystack otherwise. And keep in mind there's a lot of on-the-job training. You can find yourself on the sales floor feeling a little bit overwhelmed perhaps, but you learn and get through that really quickly. So that's what I've got. Happy to take any questions about the outdoor retail industry or jobs in the outdoors. So the question
Hi.
comes up, when would you need to travel for retail? That's a good question. Yep. And you could travel with retail if you go, if REI, for example, when they open a new store, they'll have experienced REI employees travel there to help open the new store and help kind of recreate the REI culture. But mostly whenever I say that, I'm thinking about if you personally want to travel, if you have outdoor retail on your resume and you leave one job and you go to a brand new state, it's easy to find a job quickly if you have that experience on your resume. Any other questions about the outdoor retail industry?
Great question. All right. Kai, thank you very much. If anyone thinks of questions for Kai during the rest of the presentation, we'll have a few minutes at the end, or we'll send everyone this presentation as well, so you'll have his contact info. Thanks, Kai. All right. So we will, moving on. Next up, we have Ronald Griswold. And Ron, just checking in with you audio-wise. Are you able to?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. I will turn it over to you. Let me know when to flip the slides for you.
All right, perfect. Hello, everyone, first off. So I'm not looking at a monitor right now. So when I say next, that is when the slides will proceed. But I'm going to start off with the introduction of myself. As you see, my name is Ronald Griswold. I hail from Elizabeth City, North Carolina. That's near the Outer Banks, if anyone has ever been to that area. I did the Natural Leaders Camp this year, and I'm actually coming from a very different background. In school, I studied business management. So a lot of people ask, how'd you get into this? This is just something that I've always loved doing, and that's what I believe most people should go and do, things that they love to do. So with that being said, I am an outdoor educator or trail guide and boat captain with Witness Inquiry out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. And Witness Inquiry is a nonprofit organization connecting people from all walks of life to the natural world through shared outdoor adventure travel, which brings us to our topic, outdoor adventure and recreation. But before starting this presentation, I'm mainly coming from what I do with my organization and what's offered through my organization. So next slide. All right, everyone should be looking at a photo now of a raging river. So this photo right here is from the Grand Canyon. That is my buddy, Rebecca Barnes. Last August, I had the opportunity to do a 15-day rafting trip through the Grand Canyon through my organization with another organization we partner with. And this is an amazing photo that came from it. Actually, on that trip, it was one of our disabilities trips. So on the trip, we were helping people who had cerebral palsy, traumatic brain injury, and all these other kind of cognitive and physical disabilities. We're just basically helping them have the time of their lives outdoors doing something that most people their whole lives say that they'll never be able to do. So that is one thing right there. Next slide. This next slide is of these adorable little dogs. So every winter, for the past 2 winters for me, I've been going up north to the Boundary Waters. With my organization, we run winter lodging and dog sledding trips. And these are some of the beautiful dogs that you see right here in front of you. These are very amazing trips as well. We do these for public populations, but also we cater towards people with cognitive and physical disabilities, and we'll go up there, and it's very strenuous, but it's so rewarding at the end. Here you are, pulling a sled by yourself with someone who's probably twice your size, but they don't have mobility of their legs. And honestly, I mean, it's a great workout, but at the same time, it's so rewarding. It's just the look on these people's faces as they're being pulled through these beautiful, lush white hiking grounds is just something that I love doing every year. Next slide. And this one right here is just something a little bit more laid back. This is a photo of Buddy Bison and I and some children from I believe, a Y camp in Washington, D.C., paddling the Anacostia River. So the main thing I'm showing this photo is because outdoor adventure change. Outdoor adventure and recreation just changes and is different all across the board. It can be anything from a wilderness experience way back in the backcountry or something as simple as a urban paddle. All right, next slide. So right here, you could be all these different things. I have everything listed right here, but you can be all these things and all the things that I showed before. Personally, I would love to be a canoeing athlete on top of what I already do. The field is just so vast and so open to a lot of different opportunities, whether you want to be an athlete of sorts or whether you want to take people out and experience nature hand in hand. I would say start with what you like to do and then go from there. All right, next. All right, this profession is right for you if you value soft skills, along with everything I listed. But I mainly say if you value soft skills, because soft skills meaning the genuine way you go about treating, teaching, and connecting with others. And that is the reason most people usually get hired for an outdoor profession. The hard skills matter as well. Hard skills are, tying knots or how to paddle a boat or how to navigate through the backcountry. Those are very important things that you have to know how to do, but at the same time, knowing how to connect with your participants, that's something that you should have coming into an organization. The organization, they can teach you how to canoe, how to camp, and all these other things. And I value soft skills, and other outdoor organizations also value those soft skills. This profession is also right for you if you love logistics. If you like to sit there and literally plan out a trip from the beginning to the end, where you're going to meet at, the food you're going to eat, the partners you have to bring on board to make sure that everything is working in accordance, you will love this. Also, as I believe Kai said earlier, presented before me, pro deals, working in the outdoor industry, since you're out there in the gutter each and every day, just for the most part, organizations open up to you, thus allow you to receive pro deals, which are basically discounted outdoor goods that they will let you use for a cheaper price. All right, next slide. You see, one thing that I wish I had known before I started was how many opportunities for outdoor adventure and recreation were out there when I was in school. After leaving school, I started doing more research, of course. I'm out there doing all these amazing things now, but then I started doing all the research, and there's just so many different opportunities and so many different semesters where you can, do say a course with NOLS or Outward Bound. So I was really surprised to see all these different things that I could have been doing when I was actually in school. And that's something that I wish I could start over and do, but, you got to keep moving forward. And some of those things you can still do even now after you are out of school. Some are more school specific and really want you to be currently in college or even high school, but there's a lot of other programs you can get involved with after college. Next slide. Some of those things I just listed, resources for getting into or learning about this profession, I have listed Outward Bound, NOLS, and Nat Geo Young Explorer Grant. These are pretty vague, but I listed these three mainly because these are the top three that I look at when I want to know more about different adventure or outdoor opportunities in the recreation field. Outward Bound and NOLS are pretty similar. If you ask like a NOLS graduate or Outward Bound graduate, they'll probably be totally against me saying pretty similar, but these are pretty similar in what they offer as far as like semesters, or you're out in the backcountry for long periods of time, training yourself how to become a better outdoor educator and really connecting with the people that are around you and really opening your eyes to all the different opportunities and experiences out there. And at the bottom, I have me. If you have specific questions about, outdoor adventure field or want more resources, you please feel free to just email me and I can tailor my answers specifically for you depending on what you're looking for. Next slide. This is the question and answer portion. I like the little part I put up top. I help others because honestly it's the most genuine way I can help myself, and this is something that is very true even when you're out in the field leading a trip, no matter if it's 1 day or 20 days. So yeah, at this time I'll take questions. All right, perfect. Lindsay.
All right. Thanks. And once again, if anyone thinks of anything, Ron's contact info is right there, and you can always hit him up later on. So thanks, Ron. All right, we will move on now. Blair Griffin is up next, and I will let Blair introduce himself and go into his section. Take it away, Blair.
Hey, how's it going? Can everybody hear me all right? Or you're all on mute,
Yeah.
so you can tell me otherwise. Great. So thank you all for coming virtually to this. My name is Blair Griffin. I am here to talk about the world of environmental education and specifically how the art of teaching can become a green job. I work at a place called Islandwood. We're a nonprofit located pretty close to Seattle on an island, and we do a number of different really interesting programs. One is we're an outdoor school, so kids from mostly inner city Seattle come with their 5th grade class and do some sort of strange combination of camp and science class outside for 4 or 5 days. The people who teach in that program are also part of a graduate program that we have here that is the first year of a Master's of Education with University of Washington, and there's a number of other programs similar to that around the country. We do other things too, like summer camps, which is my job, as well as different community outreach programs in the city of Seattle. And so, like I said, I'm here to talk about specifically education and teaching, how it relates to green jobs. So I asked a bunch of coworkers a little while ago about how they would describe environmental education. And the coolest answer I got was that it's getting back to our primitive roots. There's the understanding that thousands of years ago, when we depended so much more on the land, we had this great knowledge base about what kind of plant is edible, what kind of animal is going to migrate through this part of the year. And we've lost that as we've become more and more disconnected with nature. And so environmental education, as well as any of these jobs, is all about reforming that connection. And what makes environmental ed a little bit different from, say, outdoor recreation, or even what some people call outdoor ed, is that this is using knowledge bases that exist right now in school to build that connection. So it's using science and social studies and building up knowledge around that to help people understand the complex interactions around them more. The goal around it is learning, and so the purpose and the tools that you need are all based around teaching. So there's a lot of things that look like environmental education positions. One of them is just you could be an interpreter at a zoo or an aquarium. You could do outreach programs within. You could be a zookeeper who does speeches about this is this turtle and this is why it's endangered and why you should care about it. You could have jobs within the camp industry. If it's working with kids or even teens, it's a great segue to being environmental education. You could work at an outdoor school. This is how I got started in this field. I was in college, and I fully believed that all you needed was content knowledge to be able to teach, not necessarily understanding about how to teach. And so I started out wanting to be a teacher, but not really having the knowledge base to go forward with it. And so I taught at an outdoor school right out of college and then stayed in it for the next decade or so. If you do have a background in teaching and you are looking at being a more formal classroom teacher, there's great ways to get kids outside and integrate this knowledge base into them during that with that career. And then there's other things like being an interpretive park ranger. You could work for like the public works. We have a center at Islandwood in Seattle that's based at a sewage treatment plant, and it is getting kids there. Every 5th grade class in Seattle comes there. They learn about what happens when they flush their toilet, and it's building that connection to their actual choices and helping them to be empowered to make really positive change in the future. So this job and this profession is right for you if you, like me, were a pretty nerdy kid. If you got really excited when a National Geographic documentary about penguins came on, and maybe you weren't going camping outside all the time. Maybe you weren't out there playing a ton of sports or things, but you still love the outdoors and you still love nature. The first time I went camping was when I was, I think, 22. and now I do it all the time. So if you still get off on understanding more and more about the natural world in a more kind of intellectual way. Another really important one is that this job is exhausting. Teaching, especially outside in the pouring rain, is a very hard undertaking, and you need to be able to draw energy from your students, whether they're a handful of adults, whether it's a group of 5-year-olds, whatever. There are people who are really introverted in this position or in this job, and they're fantastic, but it's a lot more draining on them because they need to recharge by being alone. But oftentimes you're doing a 12-hour day hiking around with kids, and you've got to be able to keep your energy up. And you've got to love the act of teaching and be able to reflect on that. Like I said there, it nourishes your spirit. That's something else a coworker told me to put on here. Another one is that you're naturally creative and you like thinking outside the box. Teaching outside is inherently still kind of a weird thing that a lot of people don't understand. It's a running joke in the industry that when you go home for Thanksgiving and your grandmother asks you, like, when are you going to get a real job, or when are you going to be a real teacher? And you realize I am a real teacher. It's just not inside 4 walls. And so you need to be able to be creative with that environment as well. And the most important one, I think, is that you can see change not necessarily as it's happening, but as it will be happening in the future. So you see how taking a kid out and helping them understand what kind of tree something is, or helping them play with a bug for the first time, or hold a snake for the first time, how that can last a lifetime and help influence their choices later on. So you have to be very forward-thinking and be invested in change from kind of the bottom up. And the one that Kai stole earlier is that you're just passionate about learning outside, not just about science. A lot of people get into this field with a background in art or English. You don't have to, have a super hard science background. My background is in social science. And so you can do it as long as you understand the art of teaching and you're invested in learning about that. Some things I wish I knew before I had gotten into this field. I literally invented the term environmental education when I was in college because I was never exposed to it. I invented it in my head. It existed beforehand. But you have to understand that teaching can happen anywhere, and that you've got to take the initiative and look for other ways to get into this profession if you don't want to be in a classroom. And like I said before, I used to think that all you needed was content knowledge. You just needed to know a ton about biology to be able to teach biology, and that's not the case. Being able to develop the skills and the content knowledge as a teacher, as education is a content field, is much more important than knowing just facts about animals. So you've got to be invested in building up those skills. And you can start doing it pretty early. So there's a lot of resources to get into the environmental ed profession. The big one is the North American Association of Environmental Education. I have their website up there. It's the main place that jobs are posted for environmental ed jobs. There's also a couple other websites. There's Backdoor Jobs, there's Eco Jobs, and a few other ones. Other great programs right out of college that can focus on education are a lot of AmeriCorps programs, City Year, and the SCA. They're a great way to get a foot into teaching and kind of test it out without having to completely commit to it for more than a couple of years. Summer camp is a fantastic way, especially if you're still in college, for exposing your professional life to working with kids. So you can check out the American Camp Association for different jobs with that. And then if you really enjoy this, higher education is something that's a really good thing to think about. So graduate school it's becoming more and more something that's required to go higher and higher up in this field. So there's a couple really interesting programs around the country, like I said, where you teach outside as your student teaching, and then you get to take courses at the same time, one of which is Islandwood, where I work. And then just a good general resource, if you're interested in just creating positive change in a job, is idealist.org, because they have absolutely everything across the board. Every kind of job that we're going to talk about today is on there. If you have any questions, or say you're interested in an environmental education internship or graduate program, please feel free to email me. I am happy to chat with anybody and kind of help figure out what some next steps could be. So there's my contact info right there. And thank you very much. Do we have any questions?
Great.
All right.
Thanks, Blair. We'll,
cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Blair. We'll keep moving along here. So next up, we have Sophie Sarkar, and I will let Sophie introduce herself and take it from here. Thanks, Sophie.
Thanks so much. Hello, everyone. I'm Sophie, and I'm an outdoor recreation planner with the Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Assistance Program of the National Park Service in Philly. And today I'm going to be talking about community planning. So not very many people know about our program, but we're really considered to be sort of the community outreach arm of the Park Service. And our mission is really to help connect more people, especially people in urban areas, to the outdoors, regardless of whether they're near a national park or not. And the way that we do this is by offering staff time and technical assistance on community-led recreation and conservation initiatives. So community planning is really about empowering residents and stakeholders to come together and really reclaim their neighborhoods and make them better, safer, more vibrant places in which to live. And this can be really challenging and also really rewarding. Often residents are angry or disengaged because they feel like over the years their needs and concerns haven't really been addressed appropriately by public process or by local government. So as a planner, you really have this opportunity to help communities organize themselves and articulate their needs effectively. And it's really cool to see residents reclaim their spaces in their neighborhoods, which have been blighted or abandoned for years, and really turn them into spaces that they feel safe in and proud about. And so these pictures on this slide are from a neighborhood cleanup that we did as part of a Greenway planning effort, which is a project I'm working on in West Philly. And on the right, you can see the before and after photos of our cleanup, and it's a pretty dramatic change. And this was really cool because the corridor is actually owned by the city, and it's supposed to be maintained by the city. But they obviously weren't maintaining it, and so the residents really decided to step up and take action. And pretty much as soon as they did, the city took notice and started sending crews out to continue maintaining the corridor. So this really demonstrated the power of collective action to these residents, and it was great that they were able to see results almost instantly. So as a planner, you have to take on a lot of different roles. And our program at the Park Service is really based around a technical assistance role. And technical assistance is a really broad term. And it really means that our staff take on a lot of different roles just depending on the needs of each project, because we work on so many different types of projects. But some of the common roles that I play are facilitator, graphic designer, event planner, liaison. And if you're interested in design, you can be a landscape architect and actually, through participatory processes, design a trail or park that really fits what a community wants to see in their neighborhood. You can work for a bike coalition and be an advocate for better bike trails and walking trails. You can be a policymaker. And last but not least, you can be a Leslie Knope. And people ask me all the time if my job is like Leslie Knope on Parks and Rec. And I'll have to admit that sometimes I actually cry when I watch Parks and Rec because it's so close to my reality. But I actually think that's a good thing because I think it's just really powerful to serve the public and to do work within your own community. And to be an engaged citizen in your daily, work life. And so I'm proud to be a Leslie Knope. And this profession is right for you if you're really energized by working with many different types of people, often all in the same room together. which can be really challenging. But a big part of your role as a planner is to be a good listener and to hear all those different voices, and then to try to create a vision or design that reflects everyone's needs as best as possible. So if you like facilitation and community organizing, this is a great profession for you. And I put in this bullet point about being part reformist and part revolutionary, because I think you can be very revolutionary as a planner. You know, you can help a group revitalize a neighborhood that's been blighted for years. But at the same time, if you're interested in planning, probably means that you're either going to have to work for or with government, which means that at some point you're going to have to work with the system and work with the bureaucracy. And so it's important that you have patience for government. And it's also a great profession if you're creative and interested in design. It's really cool because you can see that your design work has a direct social and environmental impact if your plans are actually implemented. And one thing I wish I'd known before I started was just that I wish I had known that when I started my job, I wouldn't be given like structured training courses to help me build the skills I needed as a planner. Really, most of my training has happened on the job through project work, which is good, but I also think that it's really important, and I think this is true for a lot of different organizations and a lot of different jobs. There just aren't the resources so much anymore to offer structured training. So it's really important to be able to identify the specific needs that you have to be better at your work, and then to be really proactive about finding training, whether it's the Natural Leaders Legacy Camp or, you know, working with a partner that you know is a really good facilitator, finding those things that will help benefit your work. And there are lots of resources if you're interested in planning. The one I really want to highlight is specifically if you're interested in working for a federal agency. The way that I got into the Park Service was through a Student Conservation Association fellowship, which through doing that fellowship, I qualified for Public Land Corps hiring authority. So it's important to know about special hiring authorities because it's one of the few ways to get employment with a federal agency. And basically what that is if you're a veteran or if you're a Peace Corps volunteer, you have a special status when you apply for federal positions. So you're basically bumped up to the top of the list. And the only way to be competitive with those folks is if you have a special hiring status yourself. And there are some lesser known ones, such as the Public Land Corps. And you can qualify for Public Land Corps by doing a certain number of volunteer hours on public land. So if you're really interested in federal employment, I would look Public Land Corps up online, and also if you have any questions, because I think I was one of the first people to use it in our region, please reach out and I'd be happy to walk you through it. And there are a couple more resources on this slide, but I'll let you guys read those on your own. So thanks so much for listening. And I just wanted to mention that we are in our office hiring a community planning fellow. It's a 10-month fellowship. So if you're interested, please do reach out to me. And now I can take any questions that anyone has.
Sophie, this is Lindsay. A couple of comments we've gotten from the field. I think you're going to see that quote used more now, maybe even on a bumper sticker at some point of part reformist, part revolutionary. So, yeah.
When I started with the Park Service, that was really hard for me to grapple with because I really felt like a revolutionary or like I wanted to be a revolutionary, but I was working for a government agency. But I feel really good about the compromise.
Good deal. Awesome. Well, thank you, Sophie. And once again, Sophie's contact information is there, and we'll give it to everyone if you have any questions. So thank you. All right. We will move on to our next speaker, which is Ryan Spencer.
All right. Can y'all hear me okay? Lindsay, can y'all hear me through the phone?
I hear you loud and clear.
Awesome. I just want to start and say thank you to Lindsay, Kai, Amy, all of my fellow presenters. It is so awesome to get to hear everyone's stories and to hear their experiences and to just be a part of this webinar process. I think it is so cool. One of the neatest things that I'm working on right now is part of the Children and Nature Conference. It's the first day, our Technology and Nature Summit, and I think it's just amazing that we're using technology to connect here to help spread the good word about conservation jobs all over the country. So thank you for making this possible. As you can see, I'm the current director of the Children and Nature Collaborative of Austin, one of the many regional collaboratives that support the Children and Nature Network. And I have a lot of interests, and I put them all up on the slideshow for y'all to see. I'd like to add one to my outdoor interests, and Kai might have some understanding of this. I also love finding great places to eat on the way to and from my favorite outdoor spots, and so I had to throw that in there as well. There are so many different types of jobs in the conservation field. It's really hard to just list them all out. So I tried to break them down into categories to make it easier. And yes, that is a picture of me moving a hefty log, I guess. One of the greatest jobs I ever had was as an intern at Guadalupe River State Park. My very first day, I kid you not, they gave me the keys to a truck, my own place to live on 2,000 acres, and told me to go find a unicorn. And, you know, it's experiences like that change you and just really help you grow as an individual. So, again, you can see in this list there are lots of different options, whether it's research or fundraising or youth programs, law enforcement, all kinds of opportunities in the conservation field. A few other jobs that I had that really kind of shaped who I am today. I worked as a part of a citizen science group for the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality called the Texas Stream Team. It's a picture of Plum Creek on the left. It has been in disrepair for a long, long time, and volunteers are currently helping understand what's going on in that ecosystem. Also, the photo in the middle is my very first outdoor classroom at the Glass Bottom Boat that I was the captain of for a while, and I got to take elementary school age kids out on a spring lake almost every day and teach them about the world, and it was just a beautiful experience. There's lots of positions available in the Park Service, whether it's state parks or national parks. I was really blessed to have both some natural resource management experience, whether it was wildlife or controlled burns, or it was different types of species removal. I had a lot of experience with that at Guadalupe River, but I also got to work in park interpretation through the Texas Outdoor Family Program, working on Kai's team over at Parks and Wildlife. And, I'm a firm believer that land management and visitor relations are not mutually exclusive, that the role of a park ranger isn't just to protect the trails and the flowers and things like that, but there to help provide an experience for guests so that they come back as conservationists themselves. We're the fuel for the fire, so to speak. Another big portion of my experience is GIS. And, today land managers have tools at their disposal that just were not there even 10 years ago. And, a great example of that is bathymetry. And bathymetry is the undersurface of either a river, stream, or ocean. And today we're using satellites to actually look into the rivers and see how deep they are. And we can do this on a scale that is so large that 10 years ago, you would go out there and measure it with the yardstick and whatnot. By the time we finished measuring the whole river, the river had changed. And so GIS is becoming a huge tool for land managers and conservationists alike to try to figure out how to make good, strong decisions for the lands they protect. The thing that I feel that you have to have if this profession is right for you is just a profound sense of responsibility to protect the outdoors. I think that's key. You know, you get out there and you get choked up when you go to Yosemite or see the Grand Canyon. That's the real deal, and that's what makes the biggest difference in my mind. I wish I'd known more about internships and how important they were when I was in college. I didn't realize until I was in graduate school how important internships were. They have such an impact on the trajectory of your career and your perspective on life that it just can change who you are. And it's an amazing experience. I recommend them to everyone. And the thing that I recommend the most to people about trying to fuel their passion, I think passion is an overused word, I'll call it curiosity, is try to align the things you do in your life, whether it's personal development, recreation, school and college, or an internship in your current career or job. Try to line those up. So that way you get this multiplier effect. I think it really makes a huge difference. It has in my life. And I've been able to use the things that I do at home and at school and at work to kind of fuel my passion and get me going. So I think that that's something that's really, really helpful, and probably the biggest tip that you can take away from my presentation is try to line those up. And lastly, I wanted to leave you guys with a couple of different options for resources. These are all links to different places, most of them within Texas, some of them outside of the state. But that can help you land a first job, a good internship, a strong entry-level position at any one of these places would be amazing. So feel free to take a look at those. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now.
Thanks,
by the way,
Ryan.
that was a really cold night on that picture.
Ryan, thank you so much. In the interest of time, we're going to keep moving forward here. But if anyone has any questions for Ryan, you have his information as well. So thank you, Ryan. Okay, so moving on, this is our last section that we're going to go over, and this is Lindsay Davis. Caitlin Cox and I are going to co-lead this section. As I mentioned at the beginning, I'm the Natural Leaders Network Assistant Program Director. I've also been a park ranger in the Texas State Park System's Outdoor Education Coordinator, and then I've actually worked a few different support role jobs in private sectors too. And then Caitlin Cox, I'll let Caitlin introduce herself.
Hey everybody, my name is Caitlin Cox, as Lindsay said. Currently, I'm an environmental programs manager for Walt Disney Parks and Resorts. If you are not familiar, Walt Disney Parks and Resorts is part of a global entertainment conglomerate you might have heard of that most recently brought you a lot of superheroes and a weird-looking lightsaber and a bunch of songs that get stuck in your head really easy, but you can just let it go, so that's fine. So what I do there is put together a bunch of our environmental programs and everything from recycling to energy reduction to ecosystem management and things like that. And my big project right now is our newest Disneyland that will be opening in China late next year.
Great. Thanks, Caitlin. So what we're going to touch on in this last part is kind of a dual content here. We're going to hit on support positions within green organizations or within the green job field, and then talk a little bit about sustainability and how you can green your current job too. So, support positions or support roles, everyone's probably seen Office Space. What do you do here exactly? So you do a lot in these support positions is the bottom line. These are behind the scenes jobs a lot of times, but behind that successful organization, initiative, program, whatever it is, there's a dedicated team of support professionals making sure that everything gets done that needs to, and making sure that the engine's running properly and that it's running greener as well. So, but they make up a large portion of the green job sector that's often overlooked. A couple key takeaways on this. Support positions can be entry level all the way through upper management and even executive level. And they're also a great way that one can green these jobs even in traditional non-green workplaces. So just some ideas of what this field can encompass. This is a large, diverse field, but just to get your mind kind of thinking about it, on the administrative side, you could be an office manager or administrative coordinator. You could be in human resources. There's a whole slew of human resources jobs out there, from very general to very specific. Can everyone hear me? Because I just lost a connection. Can someone just let me know if you can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I can't see the screen right now, but I'm just gonna keep going here. So anyways, budgeting, accounting, some other ones that I didn't even put down on here, legal counsel, IT, fleet and logistics, all those are gonna fall under the support services and support roles within the green job sector. I think I'm back on now. Okay. So these positions are right for you so I want to put a little disclaimer on this, that this is not a cookie cutter field. None of these are cookie cutter, job fields, but within this one, it is very broad. These are just, some ideas and tips to get you thinking about what would help you in this field. So one of the things is being organized and analytical in your professional work style. I say in your professional work style because you might be pretty messy at home or not like to run on a tight, deadline or anything like that off the clock. But when you're working, you are organized and analytical because you're usually working on projects and deadlines. You have a good problem-solving hat that fits you well and you like to wear it. Within the green jobs field, you can be working on standard operating procedures that lead to a decrease in energy costs. And you're really excited about that, and so is your boss. Among other people. One of the main ones I want to highlight here is that to be successful in a support role is to be a good communicator along with being open-minded and approachable. So with a lot of these positions, you hold the keys to something. So it could be that you're in charge of approving expense reports where people get paid back, or you might be in charge of payroll, or, you might be a human resources officer in charge of approving that final check before that part can get their new interpreter. And how you do your job and how you communicate what you're doing and what you need from other people is going to directly influence how everyone else, especially the field, does their job. So, in essence, you make gatekeeper a positive word. People want to come talk to you and want to learn how they can, negotiate those HR hiring guidelines so that they can get the best person in the most efficient amount of time, et cetera. A couple other thoughts on this. You can see the whole picture. So you can flip back and forth. You can turn it on and off. You might be buried in budgeting and budget projections, but you can come up, take a breath, and see what you're doing fits into the greater good of your organization. And of course, this, probably holds true for almost all of us working in the green job field, but we're motivated by serving a mission or cause and enjoy being part of a team. Caitlin, I'll turn it over for you if you had anything else to add on this.
Yeah, no, I think you covered this really well, Lindsay, and I totally agree. These professions are absolutely the unsung heroes of the conservation field, and we absolutely need to make sure we're getting just as talented of a group into those positions as we are out on the front lines. For
Great.
Sure. Awesome.
So it's 9 o'clock. We'll wrap this up in a couple minutes. Just a couple more slides that are pretty self-explanatory, but broaden your horizons on this. Network and network well. So take the proper steps, not only join an association, but to actually go to the events and to meet people and then to follow up from those events. Blair mentioned Idealist, that's a great resource for finding support positions. I did a quick search right before the webinar, found thousands of positions if you just typed in accounting, and then could go from there on what you were specifically looking for, also with admin and HR.
Awesome. Yeah, so just as we wrap up here, you might not be in a position right now where you can switch into a green job, or maybe you haven't found your calling necessarily in a green field. So how do you take your current job and your current passion for the outdoors, and how do you combine those things? So I'm hearkening back to my ELF reference from last week, and what do you do when you feel like the odd man out? So I'll advance to the next slide here with our some of our tactics that we use here for the company I work with. So there are about 120,000 employees in the Walt Disney Company around the world, and I'd say there's about 100 of us that focus on sustainability. But even with those numbers, in the last 5 years, we've cut our energy use by about 11%, and we've cut our waste to landfill in half. So it is possible to do it with that small number of people, and we've done that because we've turned all jobs into green jobs. And so here are some of those ways we do that. We started by establishing some environmental goals and targets across the company. So if you don't have those where you're working, certainly giving everybody a common goal to work towards is a huge first step working there. Once you have those goals, it's great to have an army of people who are maybe environmentally minded like you, who want to work towards those, who want to lead the group actually towards those goals and targets. So that's an important thing there. The picture you'll see on the right is actually the resource that we use to help engage our staff in that green journey that we're on. It's a website that sort of works like an online game, I guess is the best way to put it. But you report and keep track of your environmental actions while you're at work, and you earn points. And then those points translate into actual environmental savings. And that's through a website called WeSpire that links at the bottom. And we actually work with them to create that platform for our employees, and it's super successful. So I definitely recommend looking into that if you have the capacity to do that where you're working. And in terms of the green team, and in terms of the next bullet down, it's really about modeling those behaviors for your coworkers, and showing your green side and having pride in it actually does make a big difference. There's lots of great research on the environment being one of the best ways you can engage your employees. A lot of that research is living on greenbiz.com, which is also listed at the bottom. For us, it's a top 4 motivator for ways that people feel connected to their work, and we see success in that. Kai mentioned his double bottom line, and not to one up you, Kai, but we have a triple bottom line. And our triple bottom line focuses on the 3 Ps, which is profit, people, and the planet. And so we find that those 3 things actually in turn motivate our employees. So really role modeling that for them is super important. And even simple things like we have a Frisbee in our office that we take outside and we toss around while we're brainstorming, just getting people outside and reconnected to nature in different ways while they're working. Is a great way to keep them motivated and kind of turn your work group into a green group. So it's just a real quick flyby. I'm sorry I didn't get to talk more about it, but I'll jump over here. I wish I had known that I wouldn't have as much time to talk, but I also wish that I knew before I started this job that I would need every opportunity of learning that was ever offered to me, and I unfortunately didn't take up. So even if I wasn't interested in GIS or anaerobic digestion or anything like that, it certainly has come back up for me in my career. And I wish that I had taken opportunity to learn about various sectors in the green field, even though I'd already known that I had a direction I wanted to go in. So, Lindsay, what about you?
So for me, I just wish that I'd really known the value of networking and mentorship while I was in undergrad. This goes back to the networking I talked about earlier too, the importance of it, just who, and how they'll vouch for you, and your work ethic is, it's one of the most important aspects of getting your foot in the door. So that's it for me on it. So what we'll do now, thanks everyone for hanging on. It's 5 past the hour, so I'm going to say a few closing thoughts about the webinar as a whole, and then for anyone who does have any questions and wants to hang on for a couple minutes with the presenters, we can, but at that point we'll close it. We are going to send out a post-event survey. We're still, in guinea pig mode a little bit. This is our very first webinar with the Play to Green Pay team, so we'd really appreciate you filling out that survey, very much so. So in closing, we hope that this is, kind of broaden your horizons, giving you some good insight into some different green job fields, and looking at them in a way that you might not have looked at them before. Traditionally, when we think of, green jobs, we split it linear in our mind between government, nonprofit, and private. And the way that we chose to present it tonight was purposeful in that we didn't, we chose to not really talk about those being the delineation points, but instead talk about different green jobs that you could do across any of those sectors. So we hope that you guys have found that helpful. I actually just got logged off again, so I can't see the screen right now. But with that, we will go ahead and formally close the webinar. We really appreciate everyone for being on tonight. And presenters, if you want to hang on for just a couple minutes, attendees, you're welcome to go and have a good night. If anyone wants to ask a question, please do. Kai or someone, I can't see the screen. I just got logged off again. So if one of y'all could moderate, Kai, if you don't mind moderating questions, if we have any, that would be great. Thank you, guys.
Great. Thanks, Lindsay. I'm looking at our attendees list, and I believe that we are just presenters remaining at this point. No questions in the chat box right now.
Great. Well,
nice work, everybody.
Awesome, guys. Yeah, good job, everyone. Oh, very, very good. Anyone have any closing thoughts? Yeah.
I love this. I thought it was awesome. It is so great to get to be a part of it. And thank you to everyone that was involved. I hope we do this again more often.
Great. Hey, Amy, should we stop the recording?
Yep, I'm going to stop the recording now.